All right, everybody, this is Activities Across Grade Levels, and today we're going to talk about service to others. Wow, so all kinds of cool thoughts in the service to others department. And so we are excited that you are joining us. Hope you are geared up for some cool info. Oh, yes, and then there are the captions. Boom. And now we are on our way with the captions. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for watching this as a recording. Thank you for sharing this to others. Thank you for being a good and decent human being who would bother to register for this webinar. So I hope that you are excited about the stuff we've got coming up. We want to say thank you to the good folks at Fowler Unified School District and to Richard Byrne for the good work that he does. And if you didn't catch the webinar that he and I did earlier today, we had good fun, shared some really cool stuff. Of course, that's in the title. It would be lame if we didn't, right? But that's just a part of what we do. And so feel free to catch that. And if you have questions where you're like, I just need two guys to like answer a question for me, toss it in, just let us know, right? You can just put it in the contact us and let us know. How do we do that? I'll help you out. All right. Anyway, you're probably wondering who are these people doing this particular webinar, and we would be Susan and me. Susan, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, friends. My name is Susan Stewart. I am an instructional technology coach from Central California, Fowler Unified School District, where I support 120 awesome teachers in this exciting world of education today. Additionally, I am a mom of 3, and I really am excited to be here and sharing on service to others.
And my name is Rushton Hurley. I'm a former high school teacher, a former principal, and a nonprofit guy, and a current nonprofit guy. I've been running a little thing for 15 years called Next Vista, nextvista.org, a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. You can slow down the video as you watch it if that's important to you. How does this work? What we do is we take an idea, a tool, or something, and then we look at it at different grade levels, which we think is useful for people at every grade level, by the way. And we start with the K-2 crowd, our young learners. So Susan, thinking about service to others and our young learners, what have you got to say for us?
Absolutely. Well, my first share here starts with this guy. His name's Robbie, but you probably know him by a different name. It's the Kid President. And the creators of the Kid President videos, they run this global collaboration project called Socktober. And the reason why they started is because many homeless shelters say that socks are a very high demand item in the winter. So during Socktober, people from all around the world come together with that common goal to gather socks for those in need. Now, on the next slide, you see some really cute kiddos, and a kindergarten teacher in my district came to me and she said that she wanted to have a Socktober campaign because even very young students understand the importance of keeping your tootsies warm, right? So we made a commercial to spread the word. Rushton, we play the video on the next page, please.
Here we go.
It's October. It's October. It's October. It's October. We're collecting socks for others to get warm. Socks are important. They keep our feet warm. They make us dance. Will you bring us socks?
Black socks, they never get dirty. The longer you wear them, the stronger they get. Sometimes I think I should wash them, but something inside me keeps saying, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. So,
God, that's a whole lot of cute in one video.
oh, but wait, there's more on the next page. So this green screen commercial, but the next one, there we go. Their green screen commercial, right? Silly little commercial was shared first to the classes at the school and then shared to the rest of the teachers in the district. And then someone in the senior class at Fowler High School got her hands on it and was so inspired that it sparked this healthy sock raising competition between the classes at the high school. And before you know it, these students were connected to a cause that matters, right? And they were contributing to the world in a way that was meaningful and relevant to their young little hearts. Because on the next slide, you see that 18 4-year-olds in a rural town in Fresno County had gathered over 4,600 pairs of socks. That silly little commercial was a megaphone for getting others to join their cause, right? They connected to this big global project and they made a difference, helping others with socks.
Wow, totally cool. All right, so that is a beautiful share for the K-2 crowd, as we do always in across grade levels. Let's take it up to the upper elementary, so grades 3 through 5. Back to you.
All righty, so what we see here is my friend Paul Gordon from Southern California. In the early days of the pandemic, he had a student, and the student had a 3D printer at home. And when they were first talking, and he was still communicating with his students at home, he said he wanted to start helping. So they started printing, and they looked up a variety of different patterns, that they use in 3D printers, and the plans to make these plastic face shields. And it was just a small little piece, and you would put a plastic piece in front of it. And so they were creating these plastic face shields because in the early days, supplies were hard to get, right? It was very, there was a rush on all of those supplies. So they started printing, but then they started sharing, and they started talking to other teachers and other students all across the state. And there was this army of 3D printers that all got the same pattern, and they were creating these face shields, and they were even doing trials and errors with different products, and which ones were more flexible and which ones were more comfortable on the faces of the end users. And then they started making the clips as well that would allow them, instead of having to have the mask around their ear, it would allow them to connect it in the back. And so there were probably, I think, a total of about 32 3D printers that were part of this band, and they made hundreds of the clips and the face shields to share with those frontline medical workers. And on the next slide, you'll see it even got some attention of the news there. And they came in, and you saw this kid. It started with an idea. It's like, I have this thing. I asked for a 3D printer for Christmas, and now what I want to do is I want to turn around and make things for others. So you can see that sample of the face shield that he printed and shared, but it started that movement, just 3D printers united for the purpose of making those supplies for frontline workers.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, something simple like 3D printing in the middle grades, being able to take that tool, but it's fun. It's fun to make the things you can make with a 3D printer. But I really love the way that teacher allowed that student to, use it for that purpose, for helping others. And then the fact that they were to come together and share that message and just extend that message of serving and helping others through their 3D printers.
That's fantastic. You think about the empowering nature of service, right? So when a kid realizes that something he or she can do can be immediately useful in the community, that adults are like, wow, we're really glad you're doing this. That's big. It's really big for confidence. If you think about what allows a kid to do well academically, a lot of it comes down to confidence. Can I learn this? Do I have somewhere to turn if I have trouble? Is it a big issue if something kind of goes wrong, or can I kind of pull back from that? Can I do things that matter to others, right? Those kinds of things dictate so much about how a student performs in school. And so examples like this become the kind of thing that, yeah, it could become a college entrance exam topic later, but really, why would a kid be going for a competitive college, for example? It might well be because the kid had enough confidence to do something memorable, which built confidence for later things as well.
Well, and it just reinforces that idea that kids don't have to wait to grow up to do something important, right? That question of what are you going to be, what are you going to grow? How are you going to help the world? How are you going to help the world? How are you going to change the world? What are you going to do? And you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to be bigger in order to help others. You can do it right now.
Yeah, the former education evangelist for Google was a guy named Jaime Casap. And he would talk about how when he talks to students, he wouldn't ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? He would ask the question, what problem do you want to solve, right? Which is a cool question. It's a cool thing for just implying that there are problems that you can solve, and which one happens to be your interest. And that's a great way to get a good conversation going with a kid that you just met, one would hope, right? All right. Ooh, let me see. Let me click back over here and get us up to the next one because now we're up to middle school. So middle school, different kind of time, shall we say? You often have to deal with kids who are having to work a bit to think a little bit more broadly than beyond the changing moods of the moment. That's perhaps not fair at all to plenty of middle schoolers who are like totally common, collected human beings. Don't know what your problem is, adult, but that's fine. And if we're going to talk about service at the middle school level, let's start with talking about ways to inspire them. Because just like we talked about a minute ago, one of the big issues is, do they see themselves as people who can make a difference? Now, in order to see yourself as someone who can make a difference, you have to be inspired to want to try in order to succeed, in order to have the evidence that you are one who can make a difference, right? So I highlighted 3 stories of really innovative nonprofits. I decided it would be kind of cool to talk about service from 3 angles, right? There are the mega charities, I'm going to call them. That do tons of good all over the world. I mean, they're huge. You know them by name, things like that. There are local charities that are kind of more focused on what happens in the community, and then I'm going to and there's some overlap here, but then there's like these really innovative charities, and I see stories of really innovative charities as the kind of thing that can move a kid from I'm supposed to do my homework, I'm supposed to like get this grade to ooh, wow, look what we did, right? When you see someone reacting, in a way that's a function of like a selfless act on your part, that's pretty big. So this first one is Magic Wheelchair. And if you have never heard of Magic, matter of fact, for today, I wore my Magic wheelchair shirt. When I learned about these guys, I was so excited. I like looked them up online and like they sold swag. I'm like buying a shirt, favorite t-shirt. Now, uh, who are these people? So this crowd, right? The main guy is he's like a night shift nurse who has he and his wife have, I think, 4 children, 3 of whom are in wheelchairs, a rare condition, right? But they play games together, do all these things. Well, his oldest son, at when he was, I think, 5 or something like this, for Halloween, wanted to be a pirate. Okay, well, good, right? Kids want to dress up for Halloween. That's a fun and cool thing, right? But when you're in a wheelchair, it kind of takes away, right, from your ability to show a good costume, right? Not if you're this guy, because he was like, we're going to incorporate the wheelchair into the costume. So his kid was a pirate, and the wheelchair became the pirate ship. So suddenly the kid in the wheelchair has the coolest costume in school, right? And this is a big whopping deal, right? Because sometimes these kids don't have like the same lifespan, right? And so important memories for the parents is a really, really big deal. The link here will take you to the organization, but I'll make sure also to get into the links a video from Great Big Story about these people who are it's just amazing. It's just like to give you faith in humanity, folks, right? Really, really good stuff. So even a middle schooler who's like, yeah, I'm way too cool for everything, and okay, now I'm upset and moody, or like even that middle schooler might watch this story and go, wow, that's really cool. As I see it, that's and essentially our job is to catch people to get past their own little hangups in order to get them seeing possibilities they haven't seen before. That's what we do as teachers. The second one is one called the Memory Project. So this is another one where it's like, oh my God, these people are cool. So there's this guy. He spent some time volunteering at an orphanage in Latin America. All right, so he's in Latin America volunteering at an orphanage, and he learned something that everybody learns when you do this kind of thing, which is these kids don't have like a lot of personal history. They're not walking around with like baby photo books, right? That's not them. They've got what they've got, and it ain't much, and there you go. And this really kind of weighed on his heart. He was like, oh my God, like that's a wow. And so he comes back to the United States. Difference with this guy is he's like, what can I do about it? And so he starts this organization where he gets high school artists. So he connects with high schools, art programs in high schools. The high school kids are artists, right? Well, he gets from orphanages in different parts of the world digital pictures of the kids. Those he moves to the high school programs. The high school artists draw pictures, paint pictures of these kids, right? So they're making portraits of the kids that they send back to the organization that sends them back to the orphanage. And now these kids have this beautiful thing, this wonderful thing, right? How cool is that? And it's not like there's, like this huge technical thing that got overcome. No, he just put two and two together in a really interesting way. You want to inspire kids to see new possibilities. They need to kind of be in that space where it's like, what's possible, right? And then if they are people who have had enough of those discussions, they'll start coming up with stuff. Third one, World Bicycle Relief. Okay, so in certain parts of the world, right, it takes a long time to get to school. It takes a long time to get to a place where you can get health care. It takes a long time to get the products you want to sell to a market. But what if somebody comes along and says, okay, so here's a bicycle. Now, and it's a good bicycle. It's not the kind of bicycle that falls apart, like half a mile down the road because it wasn't built for this environment. No, it's a good one, right? And so suddenly you can take school much more seriously. You can get there every day. You're not losing time just say walking back and forth. You get more time to study. If you are getting healthcare somewhere, you can like get things to more people. If you have a little business, you can get to more people who might be interested in your product or service. And the organization works to help people learn to become bicycle mechanics so that they're building a bit of an economic infrastructure as well. Simple idea, right? Give people really good bicycles, and it's a wonderful organization. So these kinds of organizations, I think, can inspire a lot of kids to see things in a new way. Now let's transition to high school, but really we're talking about the same kinds of things in middle school and high school when we talk about service. And the first thing actually gets us into the space of mega charities. Okay, well, what can kids do with a mega charity? So I chose Relay for Life. Now you're like, what's Relay for Life? Glad you asked. Relay for Life is the major fundraising effort of the American Cancer Society. So what they do is they work to raise funds to get more programs for cancer survivors and caregivers, information programs, educational programs out there, and loads of money that goes towards research to fight cancer. So, the kinds of therapies and drugs and stuff like this that might be able to address this. Now, they do some really cool stuff. Relay is this thing where like one day a year in given community, these things happen all over the US and all over the world. And so one day a year, people come together and they walk around the track, right? You're like, they walk around the track, they walk around the track. Cancer doesn't sleep, so neither do we. So what that means is you have these people who come together to do this stuff. It's beautiful stuff. It's like the very best of the community together. I don't mean the best people. I mean, people are all at their best as a part of this. So getting kids to really say, okay, we're gonna build a team to do something like this. Now, of course, in shelter in place, you might be like, can't quite do that. But if you stop and you consider, okay, but we all know somebody who's had cancer, right? Many of us have lost, friends and family to cancer. And so it's the kind of thing that can pull people together. And so the idea that, if each person in this class raises $20, now we're at like what, $600 or something like this. This is a program that could, help with a support system. There's lots of possibilities, right? And they make a lot of cool things happen on their site. Now that also brings me to talking another thing about a mega charity. There are people who look at something like Relay for Life and they say, oh, no. I know about Relay for Life, but they have a much higher overhead than these other charities, right? So this other charity over here, 99% of what they raise goes to the programs. And this one, 75, 80, whatever it is. Let me say about that this. Yes, they have higher overhead. But if you have a charity over here that gives 99% away and they raise $100,000 a year, that's $99,000. That's great. With something like Relay for Life, they may raise $100 million in a year, right? And if they are generating something in the realm of, and I'm just tossing these numbers out. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but if they are raising much more money as a function of building a system that allows this to happen, that's cool. So getting kids into spaces where they can see how really well-run projects are making things happen for others, that can excite their imagination for possibilities for their futures as well. Because they may be thinking about their future and saying, I don't know, my parents an accountant, I may do that. Nothing wrong with being an accountant. But on the other hand, the kid might say, I want to help make relays happen, right? Or, something that fires the imagination for the kid. Another possibility for high schoolers is that they would actually make videos themselves, and they could be completely at home doing distance learning, and they can do this, right? Because it turns out that a lot of charities are, well, first of all, they're underfunded, understaffed, and overworked. And so if some kids say, hey, we want to make a video about what you do in our community, that's pretty powerful, right? So it's a one brain cell decision on the part of the charity to be like, sounds good. And in doing that, they end up with this, with this opportunity to create just a little digital video, just something fairly simple. It isn't the production value, it's the story. That's what matters. And people will share a good story. If good production value is a great thing, but if it's a good story, it gets shared. And so that's the kind of thing where kids make a video. The charity is like, oh my God, we're going to use that. And they suddenly can get more volunteers and more donations as a result of what some kids put together. That's awesome. And my little charity, my little nonprofit, Next Vista for Learning, runs service via video every year, and it's going on right now. So if you're like, I want to get my kids involved in making videos, telling the stories of those people and organizations who make life better for others, stay in touch with me. We'll make it happen. Now, the last one here is kind of a different thing. We talk about, in this series, in our webinar series here, we're on series like episode number 28 at this point. Susan, love you. All right. And we talk about all these things for what you can do in class with these kids. My last slide here is about community service organizations. You've probably heard of Rotary or Kiwanis or Lions or Seroptimus. The good folks out there who come together often once a week, for lunch or whatever, at least did before COVID. And they find ways to make things better in their community and around the world. Now, often teachers don't think about those organizations much because, say, they meet at lunch. Can't do that. Teaching at school, right? However, there are a lot of ways that teachers should be thinking about these organizations. First, because these organizations will help with good causes in schools. That's part of what they do. They want to know that some teachers at a school got together and did this great thing to help in the community and build this and blah, blah, blah. And they want to be able to contribute to it. They want to help, but they often don't get asked. That's an issue, right? So you, as a teacher, need to know that these folks are out there. So what we'll do is we'll add to the links the Rotary Club Finder, so you can find the Rotary Club in your area where you can reach out to them and just see if you can find somebody who will talk to you. Now, the second reason I bring this up, though, is because sometimes you think of organizations like this and you think, yeah, it's a bunch of like 70-something, 80-something-year-old guys, right? Not always, right? And so for example, this is part of the group that started the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley, my Rotary Club. And there are 4 of us in this picture, right? So me and Jean, and we've got Yvonne over here and John Lozano over here, all educators, right? So educators can be part of what it means to be making good things happen in community service organizations. So find these kind of things in the area and take an interest, because it's very, very powerful to connect with people professionally outside of education. All right. So we like to remind you every week that if you are going to be the teacher you need to be for some of your students, you need to be taking care of yourself, right? Hopefully you're getting plenty of exercise, eating good food, getting plenty of sleep, things like that. And just know that taking care of yourself will make a big difference in being the educator that you can be. I hope you'll sign up for my newsletter. Every week, I like to give away a Starbucks card to somebody. So if you're like, hey, that sounds pretty good, we'll get that link in the chat. You can say, sign up. And if you're already on the list, just put in the comment section of the sign up, say, already on the list, but hope to win some caffeine. Totally fine, right? And that's perfectly good. Write a blog, rushtonh.com, rushtonh.com. Feel free to give that a look. It's called Inspiring Improvement. Written several books about becoming a better teacher and making school better, and for leaders to use tech to make everything better as well. There you go. So give that a look. If you have some questions, stick around after we finish the recording, because we are very happy to answer them for you. Next week, we'll be talking about gamified learning. And we've got the one, the only, the wildly cool Cass Pereira joining us to talk about her experiences with Classcraft, which is going to be pretty darn cool. Susan, if people are looking for you, how do they find you?
Well, you can find me on the internet, on social media at Tech Coach Susan, because I'm Susan and I'm a tech coach. And you can also find things that I'm up to, searching the hashtag K2Can2. Lots of ways to have young learners create and share good stuff happening on K2Can2 right now.
Excellent. And now I've got that link in the chat for you, the newsletter sign up link. Those of you who are joining us live, click there, take you just a few seconds, fill that thing out, and you might win a $5 Starbucks card just because that's fun. It is more fun to have a Starbucks card and not need it than to need one and not have it. That's how I see things. My name is Rushton Hurley. I'm a former high school teacher of Japanese language, former principal of a K-12 and an online high school. I'm a nonprofit guy, and I'm married up. And yesterday was my wife's birthday, and I just think she was like a gift to the world, and especially like I won life's lottery when I met her. So happy birthday yesterday, Tabitha. We hope you have gotten a lot out of what we've talked about today. We are going to finish things up, but in doing so, we hope that you will stick around and talk to us, because why not, right? You might have some cool things, to share, and we would just love to talk to you more about it. But if you've been watching this as a recording, thank you for tuning in. And by all means, sign up, register for next week's, because in so doing, you'll get an email with plenty of information that you might want to use later. All right. Good seeing you, Susan. Good seeing you as well. And we will stick around to talk to those who have questions. But otherwise, y'all take care.